Welcome to the 5-2 Diet Podcast. All the tips and information you need to lose weight and feel great with intermittent fasting. I'm Kate Harrison from the 52dietbook.com. I've lost 31 pounds, that's 14 kilograms. I've written 4 books about this lifestyle and it's transformed how I eat and how I feel. This podcast features ideas, interviews and encouragement to help you 5-2. Hello and welcome to podcast 8, which is devoted to an interview with a really fun and inspiring couple who've made 5-2 their joint mission and between them lost 9 stone or 57 kilograms in weight. Lizzie and Kevin Baker from Wiltshire in the UK featured in my first cookbook, the Ultimate 5-2 Recipe Book, when we called them Mr. and Mrs. 5-2. They're full of great anecdotes and tips, and I hope you'll enjoy listening to them as much as I enjoyed chatting to them. Don't forget, for more about this podcast, go to the 5-2dietbook.com/podcast 8. Hello, Lizzie and Kevin, and welcome to the 5-2 Diet Podcast.
Hello.
Hi there.
How are you both doing today?
We're
Very well
fine,
indeed,
yes.
thanks.
I thought maybe we'd start with before you discovered 5-2. Tell me about the kind of shape you were both in.
Well, I was touching the scales at around 23 stone, which wasn't good. I like to think I probably carried it off reasonably well, because I didn't look that huge, but it was a lot more than I wanted to be. And I was finding it was causing problems with walking and things like that. So I was getting problems with my ankles, so generally not good.
And that meant that I had to walk the dog more, and as I was walking the dog more, and the dog really needs walking quite a bit every day, then I ended up, because I was overweight, I started having pains in my legs and thinking that, you know, this isn't fair on the dog really. So,
because you'd actually moved to the country relatively recently, hadn't you, when all this started coming up?
Yeah, we're in sunny Wiltshire, yes.
Yeah, we used to be in London. I'd actually put on weight since we moved.
It was the farm shops, I think, that did it. I mean, we were putting on weight before we came to Wiltshire, but once we came and life was a bit more relaxed, and as I say, all the lovely farm shops around with the clotted cream, etc., that didn't help.
I can see that wouldn't help. And were your doctors worried about you guys?
So you would say you need to lose weight, but none of them actually made it a huge priority.
Well, with Kevin, although he had a lot more weight to lose than I did, he was horribly always coming up with normal cholesterol levels.
My cholesterol level was always normal, and my blood pressure was always normal. In fact, the last time the doctor came, because obviously he'd said about me being overweight, so I'm going to take your blood pressure, and he took it, and he said, it's the high end of normal. And I said, it's still normal, though, isn't it?
You said that grudgingly, yes. They don't like it when the scales and the blood pressure don't always agree.
Don't always match. But I was massively overweight. And I look back at photos now, and it's horrible. But like I say, because I wasn't, I mean, obviously, technically, I think it's what you call morbidly obese. If you look at photos of me, I'm obviously overweight, but I'm not huge. Whereas some other people with a different frame at 23 stone would look ridiculous.
You said morbidly obese. I mean, that's a bit of a scary phrase, even if you were only just technically into that. Do you think you were in denial about it a bit?
Possibly.
Yes,
possibly. Yeah, because as I say, and I look back at photos now, and yes, I'm much happier the weight I am now. But I look back and I didn't look ridiculously overweight.
There were more of us bothered about the weight he was putting on than he was bothered. But I mean, with me, I had a high cholesterol level, such that the doctor really wanted to medicate me, and I'd already had a 3-month allowance to see if I could bring my cholesterol level down, and it literally only came down the tiniest smidgen, and very slightly rebalanced towards good cholesterol before I heard about 5-2. So I went back to the doctor and had to sort of pretty much beg him to give me another 3 months, because I just did not want to go on to medication for something that I'd have to take all the rest of my life potentially. I wasn't ready for that, so I wanted to do something about it. Really, the documentary came up literally a few days after I'd been to the doctors, and literally popped up into our sphere at just the right time, really, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
So this is the Horizon documentary that started so many of us off, including me.
Yeah.
Did you look at the paper and think, oh, that looks interesting, or did you just happen to see it by chance?
Basically, Kevin was away on a business trip,
and I tend to.
If he's away on a fairly long business trip, and I think that one must have been at least a week, I need to keep myself occupied, and I'll watch, all those weird, embarrassing bodies kind of programs then that I wouldn't normally watch. And I thought, oh, this will be something weird to watch. I'll watch that, and it wasn't weird at all. And I just thought, well, when Kevin comes back, I'm going to ask him to watch it, thinking that he would totally poo-poo it. But, I asked him to watch it anyway, and you did, didn't you? And basically said, shall we start then?
Yeah, I mean, I've tried diets before. I mean, the reason, I don't know if I'm going to jump ahead here, but the reason this one works is because it's something you can do forever. Problem with most other diets is, by definition, they're impossible to keep to, or even unhealthy if they're a fad diet. They're unhealthy to keep to forever, and therefore you don't. And surprise, surprise, the minute you stop doing them, you go back to the way you were. It's not rocket science.
Yeah. I mean,
whereas with this one, you can, and you can take a week off, and it doesn't really matter. You're not really falling off in the way that you fall off other diets. If you're calorie counting and you stop calorie counting, then suddenly it shoots back up again.
Which diets had you tried?
None of the actual named ones. I tried to do calorie counting at one point. I tried to do 1,500 calories a day, and I managed for a while. But after a while, you just get incredibly bored, and then you think, do I have to really want to read the back of yet another packet? And it is difficult because you're doing it day in, day out, and you just can't keep to it. And in the end, you fall off the wagon once, then you fall off twice, and then you think, you know what, life's too short. And you carry on. Whereas with this one, it's brilliant because, as I say, it's so easy just being 2 days a week, because you've always got that thing about, well, if I'm hungry today, I can eat something tomorrow.
Yeah, he doesn't really do the calorie counting on the 2 days either, which helps with him to stick to it. I think if you had to fiddle about, you might not. You might get a bit fed up.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Since it's me doing it, it doesn't trouble him in that way.
That's very lucky.
Yeah.
You've definitely got it the right way around there.
I come home, I think, we've got a piece of salad, please. Fantastic.
For me, I have the incentive that I know he won't give up. There's that little bit of competition between us. I'm not going to let him get away with doing a perfect fast day and me fall off today. So, it's just that tiny little bit of healthy competition that makes me think, no, I'm not giving up. If he's carrying on, I'm carrying on.
I've never found it a problem, actually.
No, you don't.
On a fast, I've never had the thing of saying, oh, do you know what, I'm sorry today, I'm going to have something else. I've never, ever had that.
No, but you're out at work all day and you come home to it ready. I'm at home, and there are times when I think, oh, do you know, I really can't be bothered today. And then you sort of think, well, he's not going to want to give up, so I better get on and do it. I think we play off each other in different ways. He has things prepared for him when he comes home. I have the little niggle about, I'm not going to let him get away with this. He's not getting the better of me.
I love that healthy competition that works. That works so well between you guys, doesn't it? Brilliant.
Yeah,
love it.
We don't get into, it's not like arguments about it. It's just, it's a funny little thing inside my head. And he's not beating me.
Back in the time when the documentary was on, obviously there was lots and lots of medical evidence and some great examples of different ways of approaching fasting and calorie restriction in that original Horizon. But at the time, there wasn't that much information about practically how to do it. And I remember I felt at the time a bit nervous about fasting and when I should eat and what I should eat, because there was nothing much around about it. How did you guys tackle that?
Well, really, at first, we just started off the first couple of weeks just eating less of our normal food. And it was hard because some of our normal food was probably not the best type of food for a fast day. So we might have had some carbs or something, you think, oh, I'll just have a smaller sandwich or, one round instead of two.
And we did live on soup, didn't we, for a while?
After a while, yeah, we got into soup. It was fairly shortly after I started finding out. I'm the one that goes on Facebook and on the forums and things and found out that people were saying protein and plants are best to keep you feeling fuller and more satisfied for longer. And so after the first couple of weeks of it being a little bit of a challenge, but it was new, so you get on with it, then we got into the soups because I found that there were so many different soups. I started bringing home, those posh ones in the plastic. And discovered that most of them you could have a whole plastic tub per person and still be well within your day's calories. And so we started doing that. And then I thought, why don't I just make my own? And for about 6 months, it was soup, but it was a different. I'd make one soup on a Monday, Mondays, and I think we've usually done Mondays and Fridays at first, didn't we? And we've recently changed to Thursdays. But I just would make one big bucket of soup on a Monday, and there would be enough for the second fast of the week. And then in 6 months, I never made the same soup twice. I've still got a list of recipes of soups that I've not tried yet, because since then we've had your book and I've been working through that.
That's very nice to hear. And what soups were the real lifesavers, do you remember?
Smoked haddock was a lovely one,
wasn't it?
Fantastic. That was
a
real...
Because the Ethiopian one you did.
I did an Ethiopian pumpkin soup. That was very spicy, and it really did sort of satisfy because it was so hot. You kind of had a challenge eating that. It ended up getting...
It forced you to eat it slowly, didn't it?
Yeah, it made you eat it slowly, yeah.
That's true. So you feel fuller up because your appetite is getting those signals.
We still do eat very fast.
Yeah,
we notice that.
Yeah, we do notice that when we eat with other people that we tend to finish before other people, and I try to remember to eat slower, and it just doesn't work.
How did you cope when you felt hungry in those early days? We've heard it was a bit easier for Kevin, perhaps because he was busy at work.
Well, I get over the lunchtime hump by taking the dog for his walk. He needs a couple of hours. So by the time I've done that and got back home, it's time to start cooking the evening meal anyway, usually, or start thinking about it anyway. So there's that. And I'm one of these weird people that likes to bake. My surname is Baker and I like to bake. And I don't have any problem doing things like that on a fast day. I bake bread, and I make granola, and I make yogurt regularly. They're the regular things I make on a fast day, because I make them for the week ahead or whatever. I even bake cakes. Gin and tonic cake's a good one.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really good.
I want some of that.
Yeah.
I don't have any problem doing that on a fast day because I know I'm making it for tomorrow, and especially a lot of cakes are actually better the next day if you can hold out.
That then gives you the structure of being able to say I'll have it tomorrow, which is what we all say. That's the mantra, isn't it?
That's the big thing. I can have this tomorrow. I might be making it today. I can't eat it today. I can't lick the spoon today, but I can have it tomorrow. How
soon did you start seeing results, you two?
Very quickly, within the first 2 weeks, I think.
I think we were lucky. We both had early results, quite fast results. I mean, I think I pretty much lost 1.5 stone of my 2 stones in the first 6 months, and then the next sort of 0.5 stone was slower. I
was overeating, so I think just eating normally, I would have seen results. Therefore, having actually fasted for 2 days really sped it up. There's no question about it. As I say, that I was massively overeating. It's going out for a snack, and it wouldn't just be a packet of crisps. It would be like another full meal or something.
Yeah,
I mean, always go back to seconds, when you don't really want it. It's just a habit. It's purely a habit.
I know you said to me once that when you get a train home from somewhere, you would pick up a big latte. Was it a caramel macchiato or something?
Oh yes.
Caramel macchiato and a pastry and a packet of crisps. Now he'll have one of those things instead of all 3 as a treat, but it won't be every time he's coming back from somewhere on a train.
And has your appetite actually shrunk then, Kevin, or is it just you don't fancy it?
No, big time. I mean, it was always difficult because I used to overeat more out of habit than anything else, and because I like the taste of food, because I never actually have got that hungry. I mean, I am one of those people. I think I've got quite a slow metabolism because, it always used to irritate Lizzie when I sort of wake up in the morning. She'd say, I'm really starving for breakfast. No, I'm still full from the night before. So that was when I was before we started dieting. I was always reasonably full. It was just because I liked the taste of food, so I just eat.
Yeah, I mean, on a Saturday night, I'd sometimes say, shall we have a Sunday fry-up, treat ourselves to, a full English on Sunday morning. And then we'd get up on Sunday morning and I'd be all raring to go to cook it. And he'd be saying, no, I'm still full up, But then later on in the day, when his appetite kicked in, then that's when you'd...
Yeah, but I definitely have noticed that, I actually feel uncomfortable if I eat too much now, which is brilliant,
What has been your total weight loss and things like changes in clothes sizes?
Well, I was just under 23 stone, so 22 something.
No, I think you were...
And I'm now 16.3.
Yeah. And I started off at 13 stone 13. I just managed not to let myself tip over the 14 stone mark. That's when I decided something's got to be done. And I hover around 11 stone 13, 12 stone 1 now.
I very occasionally go down to 16, but it tends to be, I can pretty much guarantee it'll be 16.3, except on the button every single day.
I'm a bit frustrated because that 11 stone 13, 12 stone 1 mark is only just within my healthy BMI, and I would really love to lose the last little sort of like 7 pounds or something to get me to 11.5. It just won't happen, but I just kind of figure, do you know what? I'm 2 stone lighter than I was.
Yeah.
I'm holding at 2 stone lighter than I was. I am within healthy BMI, even if it is only just. So let's be happy with it for a while and then see what happens. So this last year, since last January, we've been maintaining pretty much on 6'1". And it's only since Christmas we've gone back to 5'2", because I did put a couple of pounds back on when we had our break for Christmas this year. He didn't, he never does. Quite often on a break he still manages to lose, and I could spit in his eye.
Usually when we go on a break I do more exercise, that's the only reason.
Yeah.
We tend to do walking, so at Christmas we were up in the Lake District, so we just went for incredibly long walks.
Yeah.
So that's how I tend to maintain it.
Yeah.
And so even though it's Christmas, we didn't overeat that much.
No.
I actually feel uncomfortable if I overeat now.
I think that was the thing, that very first Christmas, we bought all the quantities of food and all the different kinds of foods that we had done every other Christmas. And we had so much left at the end. I was sort of rushing around trying to cook things or prepare things for the freezer so that they wouldn't go off. Because I hate to waste, or we were giving away things saying, take it with you. And we just ate so much less that first Christmas. Me personally, I can sometimes find my appetite creeping again a little bit. So that's why we've stuck to 5'2" for this first couple of months of the year. It's a bit irritating because it's the cold months of the year, and
It's definitely easier in the summer, isn't it?
It is easier, but I think it's the flexibility then. As you say, you can switch between 6-1 week, which for people who are new to the whole thing just means having the one fast day and 6 days normal. Or if you want, I don't know about you guys, but I have tried doing 3 fast days a couple of times in a week before I go on holiday, almost as a preemptive strike.
I've done that.
I never have.
Kevin doesn't need to. He's just Mr. Perfect. He doesn't need to.
I'm still clinically obese according to the BMI.
Yeah, but we don't really take much notice of the BMI for you because you look right.
Yeah, I do look right.
So
I look right, I feel right.
When I see him and his brother walking from behind now, they both look the same kind of outline, and that's fine because his brother's never been overweight.
No,
so.
Never.
That looks fine to me, and it's a lot less than he was, and there've been so many little bits and pieces of health improvements that we've experienced that we didn't really expect as well. We knew that we understood that our leg pain was reducing because we were putting less strain on our legs. Yeah, that's obvious. My cholesterol level fell within 3 months from wanting to be medicated to within healthy limits, and very much towards the good cholesterol side. But there have been other things, like my migraines have reduced till I actually had one go pretty full blown at Christmas, but that's the first one since we started 5-2, whereas I used to lose days to migraines. My energy levels have gone up like crazy. I used to be called the phantom kipper in the family because I could literally kip anywhere, anytime. I'd just doze off anywhere. You know, if there was a lull in the conversation, I might have dozed off. But now I just don't, do I? You know,
not the same way. No, you stay up to about midnight now.
Yeah, midnight, 1 o'clock, and I used to be, I used to go to bed really early because I just couldn't stay awake. So my energy's gone up a lot. That kind of means my mood has improved a lot. I used to get very stressy about things. You notice my mood and my less, being less stressed. I thought that would happen when we moved to the countryside from the city, and I thought I'd be less stressed, but that didn't seem to change just from moving to somewhere where I wasn't doing as much. But over the last year or so, you've actually commented a couple of times about things that might have got me a bit wound up that just haven't.
How about other people? What have they said? What's their response been?
Really good.
Yeah, people say, people that we haven't seen for a while, when we go back and see friends where we used to live, they say, you look really good, When I went to the doctors after my second go of 3 months, I hadn't told him that I was trying 5-2. We just decided to do it for a month and see how it went, and then continue, didn't we? And when I went back to him to have my cholesterol checked, they noticed the huge change, and they said, how did you manage such a big change? Nobody manages such a big change just on their own. And I told them what I'd done. And I think I had the test done by the nurse, and she called the doctor through, and he said, well, if that's what you're doing, just keep doing it. And, and I think they're now beginning to recommend it to people as well.
I think to begin with, there was quite a lot of scepticism. When I started out, people were warning me against it. Did you experience that?
Yeah, occasionally. There is a lady at work that frequently tells me, are you starving yourself today? And I said, well, no, I'm fasting, I'm not starving.
Is this a non-eating day?
Yeah.
It's a 500 calorie day.
No, but there's just one lady at work that's really she's obviously very sceptical about it and very bothered about it. But most people ask, and the numbers of people that are really enthusiastic about hearing about it, I can be a bit evangelistic. There was a poor lady in a canal boat when we were walking the dog once that she just asked 1 or 2 questions and she got the whole story. It has really changed an awful lot of things for us, hasn't it?
Big time.
Because we really thought we'd got ourselves a dog that needed a fair bit of exercise so that it would help us to lose weight. Before we started 5-2, we thought, what have we done? We're being really unfair to him. We're not going to be able to walk him properly before long. But now...
The dog tires out before you do, does he?
Well, no, he doesn't do tired. But
he's a border collie, they don't do tired.
But I go sort of 5 miles a day with him in a couple of hours. At the weekends, when we go a bit further, I might go sort of 7 miles. Kevin has a couple of days when he walks on his own. 1 day in the week and 1 day at the weekend, you walk on your own, don't you? Because he likes to go even further than I do. And that's really why. And it's nice because when you walk, you can think about things, get things straight in your mind. We also find that if we're walking together, we can talk about things that we might niggle at each other about indoors, but it becomes a proper conversation in the open air somehow, rather than tetchiness, doesn't it? And it's just so much benefit from just walking. We don't do any other exercise. We're not gym bunnies. Never wanted to do anything like that. I think mainly because if you start something like that and you don't keep it up, you've got the same thing going as if you start any other kind of a diet and stop. In fact, if we stopped doing 5-2 and went back to eating 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, then obviously the weight would start to go back on again. But you only have to do it for 2 days. You don't have to do it for 7. So it's easy.
It's just what you do.
I feel like that. I just feel it's completely my routine now. And if I ever have to not do it for a couple of weeks because I'm travelling or something, I get actually a little bit jumpy.
No, absolutely. And I think the great thing is you can take a week off. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't have to be the same 2 days each week.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy if you do because it makes it a routine. But if something comes up, and someone says the only day we can go out for dinner is Monday, you go, well, I'll go out on Monday then. It's not sort of with other diets. It's, no, I can't. I'm on a diet. Or you get to the restaurant, and you sit there looking at the menu, going, how many calories is that? That's got carbs in it. And it's just a nightmare. Whereas with this, it's so easy.
You just go out and enjoy your meal out with people, come home and fast another day when nobody really notices what you're doing, unless you happen to mention it to anyone. Yeah. That's the only time people know.
Yeah. But I mean, almost everyone, as I say, they all say, God, how have you lost that weight? It's absolutely fantastic. You're looking really good. You're looking younger.
Yeah.
It's moving better, I notice. And although it's not part of the diet, I now also always will walk upstairs instead of getting an escalator or a lift.
I walked up.
I'll always
walk
if I can rather than getting a train. So it's all those little things. I mean, I work in London 1 day a week now, and I walk from Paddington to Blackfriars, which is 4 miles. It's just nice.
I think that it motivates you. You kind of feel, if I can do that, anything's possible.
Well, before, I've always been able to walk along. Before I would have got there, I would have been absolutely beat by the time I got there, and I'd have been puffing and blowing and red in the face, whereas now it's quite easy. It takes an hour because it's 4 miles, but that's the distance it is. But, it's very doable. I still get in the office by 9. That's not a problem.
Yeah, he gets up at ridiculously early to do that.
It's 1 day a week. I wouldn't do any more than 1 day a week.
No, but it's great to build that into your routine, and it's finding those routines like intermittent fasting that makes the difference, so long as they're not too painful. And this isn't painful at all. I don't find a fast day in any way more difficult. In some ways, it's easier. I don't know if you guys find that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was a challenge at first. You're going from eating 3 meals a day plus whatever snacks you end up eating because you're overeating and because you sort of think that this is normal eating and it just isn't. So the first sort of week or 2 were quite challenging, and then gradually, as we started adjusting the foods and finding out a little bit more about what will keep you fuller for longer, etc., it got easier and easier. In these sort of chillier months, I have had a couple of times when I've had a difficult fasting day, but literally because, as I say, that silly competition thing, I don't let it beat me. I don't want to go back to the way I was. I don't want those migraines that I used to have regularly and often, and had me floored and in bed for days. I don't want that. So I just, you think if that's what I've got to do it, then it's a small price to pay when it's not every day of the week that I've got to struggle. It's only 2 days.
A lot of people who are new starters to this get quite worried, I think, with the freedom on the non-fasting days. I just wondered if you could say a little bit about what your approach to those has been.
Well,
it's changed. For me, it used to be that I would kind of blow out on the non-fasting days to make up for the fact that I had nothing the day before. It was like, I can have cheesecake today. Off we go. But I find I don't do that now. After about 2 or 3 weeks, the stomach started shrinking, and as I say, you didn't feel that hungry. You actually got uncomfortable if you ate too much, so you actually do eat less on those other days. But when I first started, I probably did sort of make an effort to eat a lot on the non-fasting days.
I did. I just ate what I wanted to on those days, and what I wanted to just seemed to naturally, quite quickly, be less than before. But I think people being scared about it is because, see, we haven't done vast amounts of dieting before, so we've never had in our brains, that to lose weight I've only got to eat this many calories or this quantity of food in a day. And I think a lot of people that are coming from having dieted often before, it's drummed into you. You can only have this much, you can only have this quantity of calories, you can only have this kind of food, or you've got to really cut out that kind of food. in order to lose weight. And it's so much drummed into them that I can see that it can be scary, but we just literally ate what we ate before, and just gradually our appetites changed and our choices of foods on the other days changed. Yeah, I still have, a blowout day here and there. There are days when I just fancy a cinnamon whirl. That sort of thing. But when I go and buy it and I have it and I think it's not as nice as it doesn't seem to taste as nice as it used to taste. I'm finding different things tempt my palate more than they used to. Things that I wouldn't have eaten in the past seem to taste much nicer, and things that I did eat, lots of, carby treats. I bake cakes, but I don't do it as often as I did. But I never ever buy a shop bought cake anymore. No. Whereas, when it was one of our birthdays, I'd probably buy a little something like a carrot cake and decorate it, a shop bought one, and think that it was lovely. But now I taste it and I don't know, it just does taste of plastic half the time.
Well, you guys are eating a lot of what I would call real food, that stuff you were talking about from the farm shops, the nice fresh stuff, but whole fat, butter, cream, that kind of thing. It's still part of your diet. You don't ban those things.
I think whether it's part of the diet, I'm not sure, but I just seem to not crave carbs the way I used to. Whereas I still like, I still like sweets, I still like chocolate, I still like fats, I still like lots of butter.
Yeah,
I don't used to really be a carb fiend, and I really don't find I've got that crave. Sometimes, it's like yesterday, Lizzie said, "Do you want any chips?" We were a fish finger sandwich. Do you want any chips? I went, no.
No, we just fancied fish finger sandwich yesterday.
Got bread, so what?
Once in a while.
Whereas I say maybe the fats and the sugars, I still like those, but not the carbs. So I really seem to have lost the taste of carbs, and whether that's related, I don't know.
Yeah.
Whether it's just by something that's happened, generally, I don't know, but it's definitely there.
I mean, for instance, if I make a fruit crumble, it'll be mainly oats on the top rather than flour and there will be a bit of flour and butter rubbed together, but it's really bulked out with oats now, and there'll only be a little bit of the sort of crumbly pastry mixture, if you know what I mean. It'll be mostly oats that get toasted, and almonds and things like that go in the top, and a bit of spice, which makes it nice. But then that might sound all very well, but there'll probably be a slug of my sloe gin in the bottom, in the fruit.
Well, I know that's what I do. A little of what you fancy does you good. I think it's the little part that before 5'2" I used to struggle with, and for me, I know it's made a big difference in being able to control that appetite.
I think that's the thing, is the appetite suppressed, and I think that's the thing with the carbs, because they fill you up, so you don't crave carbs because you feel bloated very, very quickly, whereas, as I say, with the other things, with the fats and the sugars, you do still like them, but then you don't eat those in quite the same quantities that you do with carbs.
No, I think when you eat sugary carbs, like my cinnamon whirl, you eat that and it's okay for a few minutes, and then you want something again fairly quickly afterwards. And when you allow yourself to have something like that for a treat, you pretty soon notice that, well, I want another one, and I want another one, and it doesn't satisfy for long enough, and yet when you eat it, it doesn't taste as nice as you were hoping it would, and so you never really get to that nice satisfied feeling. Whereas if you have those sorts of things less often, we don't very often have a pudding, but when we do, it's something that we really enjoy. So it will be some fresh fruit made into a crumble. Maybe, I might have some blackberries that I foraged in the autumn, because in the countryside there's loads of bramble bushes. And I've got a big tub you just shove them in, and apples from the apple tree and oaty topping on the top. And it's something that you really enjoy, because there are all the flavours in there that are really nice. They're fresh flavours. There's not heaps of sugar masking it. There's not heaps of preservatives in there masking the real flavours. It does make a difference, but not everyone can do that. I do recognise that not everyone can do that. that's busy and rushing around after children, etc. We are lucky in that.
But there are ways around it. As you said, a lot of those fresh soups that you can buy are pretty nutritious and taste pretty good, a lot of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah, some of those are really nice, and they're really what got me going on, how can I sort of replicate this myself. And when I did replicate it myself, I 9 times out of 10 found it was better. And one of the best soups ever is fridge bottom soup, because it tastes different every time, because you've not got quite the same quantities of vegetables in. There'll be a few different things in there that you didn't have in there last time, and it's really easy. And people get hung up on thinking they've got to have a soup maker. Well, a soup maker is a pan and a knife. You've got to chop your veggies before they go in your soup maker anyway. And literally, a pan, it only takes maximum 20 minutes to make a soup like that.
I'm with you on that. I have to say, I'm such a gadget person when it comes to the kitchen, and I haven't bothered with one of those at all, because I actually think it's quite nice if you pan fry something a little bit first of all, even in a tiny little bit of oil. It just gives it that extra little bit of flavour to your vegetables, whatever it is you're putting in.
Yeah, I think if you just shove everything into a machine, it just sort of, I mean, we used to have a bread maker. I thought I needed a bread maker years ago, because I like making my bread. And I started working full time, so I thought, that'll give me the time to make it. Well, you've still got to sort your ingredients out, and I found that it tasted too cakey. That I think, the recipes for the bread maker seem to ask you to put a bit too much sugar in to get the yeast working properly. Quite frankly, I prefer just bashing it about, because if you've got some kind of irritation going on, you can half take it out on a bit of bread dough.
And it burns off the calories on a fast day, I think, if you're doing it and able to keep your hands off the freshly baked bread, as we were discussing earlier.
Yeah. But, we got rid of the bread maker because it just didn't taste as nice as the stuff I make.
If your old self could see both of you now, what do you think they'd think?
Wow.
I mean,
is that really me, I think?
Yeah.
How did you do that? Oh, that must have been difficult, whereas it hasn't been.
Yeah, I mean, Katie came back from New Zealand in August for some weddings that she was going to, our daughter. She'd moved to New Zealand in March, and she came back in August. And in the 6 months, she noticed that even though we hadn't changed weight, like Kevin's shape had changed. She said that we were both looking better in our clothes, and just our general demeanour was just a lot healthier. And I was just gradually ballooning. I always used to be, before I had children, a really skinny mini. I'm 5'10" and I weighed less than 8 stone, and that was not by any attempt to stay slim. It's just the way I was. I ate like a horse, and I think that's been one of my downfalls in later times, is because I've never been used to dieting. So when I suddenly started to need to, I didn't know how.
Yeah, it's genetic, isn't it? Because your mum,
my mum was
frame.
skinny. Yeah.
So
our son is tall and skinny.
Your niece were.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe how much she ate.
And I just started to balloon, and sort of with a few menopausal symptoms, was getting quite fed up with myself. And if I look back on myself now, I was quite glum, and I'm not glum anymore.
That's brilliant.
Much more optimistic outlook.
Fantastic. You two couldn't be a much better advert. And my maths there is that you've lost pretty much a whole person between you.
Yeah.
Have you?
Yes.
It's about 9 stone, is it, in total?
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's mostly him. He's pretty much lost what I used to weigh before I met him.
That's just incredible, isn't it, when you think about it like that?
Yeah.
So you were a member, let's face it, in the early days of our forums when we had very few people, and now we've got almost 40,000 people.
Yeah, I don't look at the numbers anymore when it gets so big, but it gets huge, doesn't it?
And you know that people come on there and they're anxious about giving it a go. So just finally, what would you both say to somebody who's interested in 5-2 but isn't quite sure?
I'd say, try. It's one day at a time. You're only doing 2 days in a week, so therefore you're only doing 1 day at a time. If you have trouble today, then tomorrow just eat normally and try again later. I would definitely say to people that think that they have to keep on trying to get a fast under their belt because they, you see people that say they failed a fast and then they say, I'll have to try again tomorrow. I definitely say don't keep trying day after day because you're just setting yourself up for disappointment that way. It's 1 day at a time. Try to, decide on a day to try it, have a few days break, try it again, and just work on it, even if you don't stick within the calories the first few times, just see what you can do. And if you eat 700 or 800 calories, well and good, it's a lot less than you were having before. Just try again next time and, have a few days between, try again. And just gradually work out the best way for yourself. Give it a try, give it a go for about a month to give it a fair shot, I'd say, and see how you feel after that. By which time we'd been doing it for a month, and we could see straight away that it was going to be what we wanted to do. We've got both of us in our families. My mum had a lot of circulatory problems. My dad had strokes and Parkinson's. Your dad had stroke. Mum had blood pressure problems, didn't she? So we had a lot of the things that this is supposed to help, and we figured, it just seems to make sense for us. There's just been so many other things that we weren't expecting that have been bonuses as well.
It's an amazing life change, and I don't think we could wish for 2 more enthusiastic or entertaining people to talk about it. So thank you both very much for joining us on the podcast. Carry on as you have been doing.
We will try to, thank you.
For more free tips, recipes and information, visit the 5-2dietbook.com. Follow me on Twitter @the52diet, or download free samples of the books online at Amazon. Join in the lifestyle change everyone is talking about.